You are listening to Peak One Sports.
Welcome to the Bungalow Fight Show. We're back again this week. Just shitty fights last week. Got some more shitty fights coming up, but you know us, we're gonna watch them all. We're gonna talk about them all. We got a lot more current events to talk about today than normal, so we'll get into that. But today's show, like every show, brought to you by Betalytics. Don't bet with your gut. Go to Betalytics, start a profile, use promo code PEAK1, get 25% off. You know you're betting on football and you know you're losing because you're trusting your gut. You're trusting the brain between your ears, and that you don't know shit. But AI, it's taken over everything else, so let it take over your betting and let it win you a couple bucks. It's helped me. It's helped some other people. If you want to put together a fancy parlay, but you just don't know who to add and what props to add, go there and it'll put one together for you. Betalytics. What? Go ahead.
Do you think those Betalytics or the AI stuff is better for, like, say, those props were like 25 yards per person or whatever, like first person to score a touchdown? Is that better than?
Yes, I do.
Better for
I do because I did a Betalytics prop. It was a modified one though, right? Because our fearless leader Ashton Nix sent me a Betalytics prop that he did a couple weeks ago for Thursday Night Football, and it was all basically based on it was a 4-leg parlay prop. All four props. One was like, this many catches for this guy, this many yards for this guy, blah blah blah. All put together by Betalytics. Alexis and I use a specific website to place our bets on, and they don't really let you modify some of that stuff. They shoot out the props like this guy, this many yards. So for example,
have you looked at the prop builder?
Yes, this was after I placed this. I realized, okay, that's where I can modify it. But to show you why the Betalytics is better than my own brain is I went on there and it was like, it was an Eagles game, so it was like DeAndre Swift. The Betalytics was 35.5 yards, right? But the self-built prop in Bovada was 37.5. So I said, screw it. I'll just do the 37. I'll just make Bovada's version of this Betalytics prop.
Yeah.
It all would have hit if I would have gone with the Betalytics prop specifically. So even modifying it just by a couple of yards made all the difference in the world. So Betalytics, they know their shit. We got hockey coming up. We got basketball coming up. Baseball's going. Football's going. This is their bread and butter, all these main sports. So go there, make some educated bets, and win some money. Betalytics.com, promo code PEAK1, get 25% off. And League Swipe is back. League Swipe is back sponsoring the Peak One Sports Network because they want back in. They want us. They want us putting them out there because we got fantasy basketball coming up. We got fantasy hockey coming up. So if you are a commissioner and you got a bunch of shitheads that you need to organize and all these things and just a bunch of different stuff going on, and you need a little bit of help, go to League Swipe, see what they can offer you, tell them Peak One sent you, and it'll help you out all the way around. And thank you, League Swipe, for coming back and joining the Peak One team. We always appreciate that. What?
Oh, I was just thinking about Joey's comments.
Don't. Thank God League Swipe didn't tune in to our last Bungalow Fight Night Live because they may not have come back thanks to Joey, but they did. They trust us. They trust us. And then another plug that I'm adding to all the shows because I never say anything about it and we need to add it is the Peak One Sports Network merch store. Bitches, I never talk about it. Bonfire.com/store/Peak1Sports. This is where we put up all of our merchandise. We got Peak One shirts. We got shirts for all the I got to make a Bungalow Fight Show shirt. That just dawned on me. There's no Bungalow Fight Show shirt. I got to put one. There'll be one in there. As you're listening to this, go check the store, and there'll be a Bungalow Fight Show shirt. But any of the little funny little quips I come up with on these shows, and I'm like, man, that should be on a shirt. I usually go and make one and put it in the store. Like I think the last one was when I was going on my FIFA tirade about the last World Cup and the obvious corruption and all that stuff, and I dawned on me that little pop culture reference, Antifa, we're anti-FIFA around here, okay? So I made an anti-FIFA shirt. So if you're not that political and don't care about the political climate, but you do care about the sports politics climate, and you hate corruption and all that stuff, go get yourself an anti-FIFA shirt. But as you're listening to this, you can go buy yourself a Bungalow Fight Show shirt. That's all of my plugs. UFC Fight Night, Fiziev versus Gamrot happened last weekend. Very underwhelming card, to say the least. All the way down to the main event, ended pretty disappointingly. Rafael Fiziev's knee exploded or something on his own kick. It exploded on Gamrot's elbow.
It was the opposite. It was a plant leg. He twisted.
It was the plant leg that exploded.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He had so much torque on the kick, he didn't move. You have to adjust your stance, or strong kicks like that, your knee's gonna give out.
100%. Yeah, twisted it up too much. What overall? What was your thoughts on that card, Alexis?
Why put it together?
Again, every once in a while they'll put out these cards where you're just like, you could have sprinkled all these fights onto better cards and they would have fit better. You know what I mean? Like all these fights.
Yeah, because we came off of the Noche UFC, which was kind of like exciting in its own thing, but then it had its own letdown. So it was like kind of like tapering off. Like we went from UFC 290. Versus Strickland, and
UFC kind of is doing this lately. Build up to a one good card, and then shitty, back up to a good one, and it's kind of what's going on right now, because we're in a lull. We got another kind of a dud coming up this weekend, but it's all moving towards 296. You know what I mean? So but yeah, Fiziev versus Gamrot all the way around. I don't know any fights specifically that you want to bring up from that night. I don't. Nothing really stands out. A week removed.
Charles Jourdain, I got my eye on you. I don't like. We said fade Canada. I did not make the picks, even though I dropped the ball last week.
Right. Well, and then Alexis dropped the ball on the video, and then I dropped the ball on making the graphic. But it doesn't matter because it was a dud.
Well, I didn't want to give the video out because I only had 7. I recorded it really quick. My kids were sick. Yeah. And like 5-minute time frame, and then I went to go edit it later or crop it down, and I noticed there was only 7 fights on there, and I was like, shit.
It's okay. Hopefully nobody bet on that card because it wasn't a big money winner.
Yeah, because everybody got freaking bodied, dude.
Oh yeah, dude, and it was opposite day for a lot of stuff. We still came out over 500 on our picks that we didn't give out, though. I will mention that, but we're not going to add them just to be fair to our viewers.
Here's the thing, though. So our current record right now, the percentage wise is 0.57.
Right.
If we add the picks that we have, we're still at 0.57.
Yeah. So it's a wash. All right. And we'll only add the ones that we make videos and graphics for. That way everybody can keep up with us. You know what I mean? So, because anyways, I think the biggest story coming out of this card though was, because we always got complaints about judges and judges not knowing shit about what they're looking at. And we had a former UFC, former fighter, Chris Lieben, making his judging debut. Which it's always nice to see when there's been a few times where there have been former fighters on the judges panel or whatever. And it's always nice to see that former fighters reffing, not in the UFC particularly, but just around the MMA landscape, you have a few former fighters that are getting into the ref game. So anytime former fighters are taking official spots, that's good in my opinion. I don't know how you feel, but it might have led to some mixed results this week. So what do you think? Chris Lieben, interesting guy to be a judge because he's probably got some CTE going on. Not what you would call a cerebral fighter in his heyday. And but again, he knows what he's looking at. Alexis sent me over his scorecards and the 3 judges' scorecards, and his is the exact opposite of the 2 other judges, Jacob Montalvo and Junichiro Kamijo had so we're looking specifically at the Vidal, the Vidal Rendon fight, and the other 2 judges had the exact same score. Lieben had the exact opposite, pretty much. What do you think? Who was right here?
Well, okay, so I was on Vidal to win the fight. That second round, so I do it because I was texting you during that round, and I was like, so
I was at a soccer game, so I didn't. Yeah. I was watching it on my phone in the sun, and I can't really give you an educated outcome of this fight.
Though, I know, but I was like, so like she, I think landed a couple good strikes, and then decided to try to wrestle the wrestler, and then got taken down. I don't know if I agree with Chris Lieben giving the fight on his scorecard to Vidal because I literally thought she was losing after the first fight.
Right. I mean,
but
the pocketbooks are lined up with our wallets were lined up with Chris Lieben, but not necessarily what was fair.
Yeah.
So I don't know, what does this mean? I mean, I know it's a very slim example to pull from, obviously one fight, one card, but
he did judge on the Tim Means and Andre Fijalo fight, which obviously everybody across the board was 10-9, 10-9 for Tim Means, up until when he won. So that you can't really judge, but this is a good one right here because he's completely opposite.
And what do you think that means? I mean, is it good for him to be the complete opposite? What does that say?
I think when we talk about like trying to score fights or like trying to base fights off of damage and stuff like that, it is good because he would actually know what wrestling what wrestling positions or what's happening in the wrestling.
And I think
is going to be more fight finishing.
And exactly, because I think a big blind spot for a lot of judges, especially ones who don't train or don't watch a lot of grappling, jiu-jitsu, and know the ins and outs of it, is when there is quote unquote boring positions going on, to know even though someone's on top doesn't mean they're in the best position. Just because someone's on bottom and they're trying to throw up a triangle doesn't mean they're in the best position. So it's like you kind of got to know in almost, it's more important in like the stalemate situations who had the best position for that amount of time, because it's all control time is a big deal. But when you're on the ground, just because someone's on top, if the person on bottom is constantly swiveling their hips, constantly trying to throw up a triangle or trying to go for an armbar, the person on the bottom should get the control time credit. You know what I'm saying? Because if the person on top's just laying on them and the person on the bottom is constantly trying to improve the position, I don't think necessarily that top person should get credit for control time, but that's usually how it happens. No matter what the bottom person's doing, if you're on top in a ground position, you're getting credit for the control time. But it's almost you're trying to cause a stalemate sometimes. You get rocked on the feet, and then you go for a takedown, and you're just laying on top of them trying to get your wits back about you. You shouldn't get credit for that. You know what I mean? So having a fighter who knows what's going on, like, well, this person on top, they should get credit for the takedown, but now that we're on the ground, they're not controlling anything. They're just laying there trying to get their wits about them. The person on bottom's trying to get them in a triangle choke or what have you, or, trying to sweep them or whatever. It's always those ins and outs of the grappling. Stand-up is easy to judge most of the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, who lands more punches? If it's pretty even, who's landing more damage or more, damaging shots.
It's good that you mentioned that too, because that just reminded me that Vidal was trying to do submissions off of her back,
Right.
while Rendon didn't really lay ground and pound until like the last like 20 seconds, and
Right.
then in the third round, like that's when she started implementing more ground and pound and stuff.
So there you
But
go. I mean,
yeah,
that's
so Chris
Lieben's card kind of works out there if you're looking at it
Yeah.
that way, because he went
I agree with
Vidal Rendon, you know. So it's going to take time to iron this all out, and it'd be nice to get more than one fighter on a judging panel for a fight to see how the two fighters view the,
Yeah.
you know, if their views are differently of it, but we'll get there one day. Another controversial card was scorecard and fight was the Mizuki Hannah Goldie fight. What are your thoughts on this card,
dude.
On this fight?
Honestly, I thought Hannah Goldie did not win any round whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't think so at all either.
And every judge who scored this match thought Hannah Goldie won a round that none of each
they didn't
other
agree
thought.
on the round either. It was like Lathaby had her winning round 1, Camijo had her winning round 2, and Bird had her winning round 3. And it's like, what the? This is the kind of card that makes people like Alexis and I go insane, because like when you're betting, I get it. Betting isn't the end all be all to what the outcomes of these fights should be, right? But when you're wanting things, take the money away from it. You just want, when it goes to a decision, you want the right outcome. And you have all three of the judges disagreeing on every single round of this fight. And that makes no sense.
What you guys are watching? Like, do you guys know what the hell you guys are talking about? At least, like, there could be. I understand there's one judge goes AWOL,
right?
And you were like, okay, that judge is retarded. But I was like, all you guys don't know what the fuck you're watching.
Yeah, when you guys are that different on how, first off, having Hannah Goldie winning any round out of the 3 is dumb, not educated at all. But all 3 of you having her winning a different round is absolutely asinine, you know. And it's like that's what's nuts to me. Is you know. And luckily, I mean, every fight's important for the fighters involved, obviously, but luckily this wasn't like a super high stakes outcome, you know what I mean? Like it's not really affecting the division at all, whoever won this fight. But for, you know, Mizuki, good thing she came out with the decision, because she definitely deserved to win that fight, but she dominated that fight. Like it should have been 10-9s all the way across the board, but
I agree with that.
Hopefully Chris Lieben to save the day.
I know we need. Hopefully, there's other people that follow suit, man. Because
this is just crazy. This fight right here it's so crazy when you look at the numbers. And I'm glad you sent me these cards, because we should do this every show now. We need to pick out at least 1 or 2 scorecards to put up as a graphic during the show, because let people act. Most people, casuals, or even in depth, you know, fans like us, you're not looking at the score, the end result. You know, you see the result of the fight and then you move on, and you think it was bullshit or not. But when you actually look at the scorecards and you're just like, what? Like, what? Why do these people have a job? Like, it's insane. All pretty crazy. But you know, that's judging for you. So that was kind of judging, I guess, was the star of last week's UFC Fight Night. Let's get into some fight announcements. Probably the biggest fight announcement of the week is Tony Ferguson taking on Paddy Pimblett on that aforementioned big UFC 296 card that's coming up. I see a lot of people that are upset about this, but I don't think it's... You and I, like, people are upset about this because they think they're, like, throwing Tony Ferguson to the wolves, because they're like, this is, you know, this fight, you know, Tony Ferguson's lost 5 in a row, so this is, like, his career hinges on this fight. And it's just like, yeah, good, because he could knock this fucking guy out.
Yeah, dude, like
I
was like, I don't know if you guys remember the last fight he had, right? You know, like, Paddy Pimblett did not look good against, what's his name, Jordan, or... I forgot your name. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
You should have won the fight.
He should have won the fight. And the thing is, that was a BS decision. Take that out of it. Tony Ferguson's last fight, obviously he lost. But the tides turned with a gnarly eye poke. And before that eye poke, he was looking like shades of old Tony Ferguson. And in my opinion, if any of the old Tony Ferguson still exists, he's going to eat Paddy Pimblett's lunch. Maybe he doesn't finish him, but he's going to, grappling-wise, he's going to dominate. On the feet, he's going to dominate. Like, short elbows, get inside. Paddy Pimblett is long, and he wants to hit you with these long looping shots and shit. Tony Ferguson's going to get in, and he's going to cut you up like Swiss cheese. Yeah. If you try to fight him like that. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what Tony Ferguson was doing in the last fight. And until he got poked in the eye, I don't know. What do you think?
I honestly like it for Tony. I think it's I don't know what they're thinking. Like if they're like, this is going to be a good platform to like raise Paddy, because if he gets like, say like, if Paddy does win, but Tony is game throughout the whole fight and like exposing him, like I don't know if that's going to do anything good for Paddy.
Well, as of the last fight in Paddy's arsenal, if this fight is anywhere close, it's going to Paddy Pimblett, right? I mean, that last fight showed that. That fight wasn't close. He should have lost by a unanimous decision, not even a split, and he won. Not saying that the UFC's, making things corrupt and corrupting these judges or whatever else. You never know why these type of things happen. Sometimes I think judges corrupt their own brains by popularity. You know what I mean? Like, but this fight specifically, this can be a really nasty fight, and I feel like they're kind of throwing Paddy Pimblett to a wolf, if you ask me. Like, I don't know if matchmakers are thinking that Tony's just washed and Paddy can walk through a big name, because it doesn't matter how many fights El Cucuy lost, he's still Tony Ferguson, name-wise, recognition-wise, history-wise. So you beat him, that's a big deal, especially for a guy who is, your next up-and-coming superstar or whatever you want to call him. Yeah. But I'm putting money on Tony in this fight. Like, my bankroll's going towards him because obviously he's going to be the dog just out of sheer popularity-wise, right? Like, everybody thinks he's done. And he's on the end of his career. I'm not saying he's going to go on a title run. I'm just saying in a world where Paddy Pimblett should have lost his last fight by unanimous decision and by the grace of the judging gods got a popularity boost and won it, like, this is the wrong guy for the UFC to feed him. You know what I mean? Like, especially coming off a loss like in Tony Ferguson's head, where he was looking good in that last fight. If he doesn't get poked in the eye, maybe he doesn't win, but he looks like a version of himself. And he's feeling like that. And now I think he's going to have even more of a chip on his shoulder, because obviously the MMA world thinks that he's sacrificial lamb in this or whatever. You know what I mean? And he's going to be like, fuck that. I'm going to chop this guy's face up with some elbows. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a weird matchup in my mind, but not for the reason that I think most people are saying it. All the articles and all the little snippets I see is like, oh, poor Tony. And it's just like, I think this is a good matchup for Tony.
Poor Paddy, dude.
That's what I'm saying. That's like...
he could get exposed. Like, his striking isn't that great. And he does have ground skills, but he's not really like...
But so does Tony.
It's more like spastic, right?
It's spastic. It's all kind of... Tony has the ground skills. First off, he has great defensive ground skills, but then secondly, he can throw up wild shit too. You know what I mean? Like, he's done it before. And like, if this fight stays standing, even if Paddy Pimblett edges out a decision, if his face looks like ground beef at the end of it, he gains no traction. Yeah. Because then he was eating a lot. He won a decision, but he looks beat the fuck up by a guy who's supposed to be washed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I keep going back to the Molly McCann and Julia Starley-Ranko, like, because Paddy is really very sporadic in like his ground exchanges. Like, if you noticed in the Molly McCann fight versus Julia, like, when she first got the armbar, like, she wasn't in a good spot to complete that armbar, and then Molly McCann just like panicked and then put herself in the best position to get the fight finished.
100%. Like, and
so I could see something like
Molly
that
did the same thing 2 fights in a row, basically. You know what I mean? Yeah. She panicked and got finished the same exact way 2 fights in a row.
So I don't know, man. I think, I'm going all Tony. I actually want Tony to win and then retire.
I hope Tony mops him up and then retires.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then goes to bare knuckle boxing. So that one's gonna be fun. I mean, we might have to do a Bungalow fight night for 296. I mean, that's a freaking crazy card.
Yeah, good.
Another big fight announcement: Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. We know we talked about Wonderboy quite a bit the last few episodes, just because of the fallout of his last scheduled fight with the weight issue. Not his weight issue, but him refusing to fight opponent who did not make weight, and then kind of being on the UFC shit list. And I know that Shavkat is on his way up, but I feel like this is being thrown to the wolves a little bit. If you ask me, like, we talked about Wonderboy at a point in his career where it's like you're 40 years old, you still got gas in the tank, but you need to fight the most favorable matchups to stay in the hunt. And this is not a favorable matchup for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. What are your thoughts on this one?
Dude, the UFC got Wonderboy in a bad spot, man.
I mean, geez. This is no bueno, dude. This is like 1A to worst matchups. One be if one is Hamzat, two might be Shavkat. Like, you know what I mean? Like in the welterweight division especially, but like I don't see this going well for Wonderboy at all.
It's not even like a good like rankings matchup for Wonderboy.
No.
I don't know if it's Shavkat is ahead of him by one or below him by one.
Either way, it's like if you're gonna fight this difficult of an opponent, it better be for to get to a title eliminators fight. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't gonna move the needle as far as the rankings are concerned. Doesn't matter if they're one above or one below, whatever. They're just gonna swap rankings or stay the same. Like whoever comes out on top of this one. And honestly, I don't know. It just seems like the UFC is trying to get out of the Wonderboy business, honestly.
Everybody, what I've seen and heard, that everybody's still like banking on Wonderboy, and I was like, Shavkat's just gonna like push him all the way up against the fence and then just maul him.
It's gonna be a mauling. Like,
he's not gonna try to stand up with him. He's just gonna straight up like just push him down. And
Shavkat is not one of those fighters who's just gonna go out there and fight your fight because it'll be more entertaining. No, he's gonna
pull a Kevin Holland.
No, exactly. Definitely not going to pull a Kevin Holland, and that's kind of what Wonderboy needs at this point, is somebody to, just stand up with him. And Shavkat's not going to do that. Like you said, he's gonna pressure him until it's done. And I don't know. This might be R.I.P. Wonderboy, dude. Because not that they're gonna cut him if he loses, but he's definitely gonna be hurting for any, and just his age, you know what I mean? It's like 40 years old in the welterweight division, you're done. Like, you should be going on a farewell tour, not fighting Shavkat, you know what I mean? Like, so that one, we'll definitely be tuning into that one. And then another announcement, Ian Gary gets matched up with Vicente Luque, and I know Alexis is not a big fan of Ian Gary. I'm not a huge fan of his personality. I mean, the guy's won me a couple bucks at this point because I've bet on him a couple times. But it's like Vicente Luque is a tough out, dude. This is a big step up for Ian Gary. A big step up.
Yes.
It's not going to be a walk in the park like some of his other fights have been, because even if he comes out as the better fighter, like Vicente Luque ain't going, like, this is going to decision, or Ian Gary's getting finished. Like, I think.
Yeah, I mean, judging on Vicente Luque's appearance with Rafael dos Anjos, honestly, I think, and Jeff Neal, I think, can give Ian Gary a run for his money, dude. And I think because Jeff Neal fought Vicente Luque,
right,
and beat him. And so that we were, you and I were both like, maybe Luke is not the good prospect anymore that we thought he was, but he's still in it.
I mean, it's a stacked division, so any guy in the top 5 could be any guy in the top 5. You know what I mean? So it's night to night basis here. But as far as Ian Gary hasn't had to be in a fucking dogfight yet, and if any, even in losses, Vicente Luque is going to put you through the ringer. He's not a guy that's going to fold. So you're either going to have to beat him up like Jeff Neal did, or it's going to be a long night. And I'm not sure. We'll wait. Obviously, we don't need to give picks on this one yet, and it's too early. We got to get a little closer.
I'll just tell you, I'm going to go dog or pass on that one.
Right.
Because,
I mean,
just the fact that.
Just for pure betting wise, yeah, because it's just a tough one.
Yeah. Because dude, like, if Ian Gary, like, I would be, like, I think I've mentioned, like, why I don't like him, but, like, the recent thing he said, like, talking to Ariel Helwani and saying that he didn't see anything elite from Sean Strickland is absolutely stupid.
It's that it was a dumb ass comment. If he was serious, you know what I mean? Some of these guys, I feel like, just say, because of the age of social media, they're just saying shit that's going to get people like us to react and going to get their name in more people's mouths, even if it's calling them stupid like we are. But if he was serious about that, he has a really low fight IQ, because the Sean Strickland's performance against Izzy was about one of the highest fight IQ fights of all time.
It was super elite, and like when you look
time.
at like those big like karate movies or something, like the elite person beats everybody with the less skill set or with less weapons because they don't need to use all the weapons.
And it's like, because it was kind of a mimic of a Floyd Mayweather fight. That's like saying Floyd Mayweather is not elite. It's like, no, but he literally fought how Floyd Mayweather fought every fight last half of his career. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, he took that to an ultra aggressive guy, guy like Izzy, and not even ultra aggressive, because Izzy's a counter fighter too. So it made it even twofold more intelligent and elite, because he was countering the counters. You know what I'm saying? Like, he went out there, threw a jab to intentionally get it countered, rolled with the counter, and then threw his own counter to the counter. So it was 3 levels of elite in that Sean Strickland performance. You know what I mean? So I hope Ian Gary was just trying to get clickbait, because, like you said, that's just a really dumb statement. So more things like that to get haters. So, I mean, you never know. But also, he could just be a fucking idiot. I'm
going to go with the latter.
I don't know, dude. It's just it's just really dumb. Dumb statement. But he's got to fight Vicente Luque in his next fight. So maybe he'll have to be forced to eat some crow one way or another. All right.
I would definitely take like the over.
Oh yeah.
Fight going to decision.
I think that's the bet for that fight specifically. If that ends up on our thing, it's just take the over. Don't take money line on that one. All right, coming up this weekend, another lackluster fight night. We got fight night Dawson versus Green. You might be saying, who is Grant Dawson? Sometimes I say that too. And Bobby Green, if you're an old head, you know who Bobby King Green is. We've talked about him quite a bit on this show. He fights a lot, and he's fought a lot for his entire career. So, I don't know. Do we really need to break down this whole card? I don't think so.
No, we'll just like I don't know. Bobby Green, he like choked out Tony Ferguson. I don't know. Just the only ones that I want to look at are like, we could do a full like breakdown or whatever we think next week, because it's 2 weeks away. Right?
Oh, you're right. It is 2 weeks away. Oh shit.
But ones to watch, like I'm watching.
We got. Well, yeah. So I was gonna say just ones to watch from. Well, let's see. The only fight for me to watch on the prelims would be the featured bout, which is Karolina Kovacevic, Diana Belbita. Just because that's Kovacevic. This is her last chance to stay ranked. She's all the way down at fallen to 15. But still not a fight that's gonna blow your hair back. We've got an Alexander Hernandez sighting on the main card. We've got an Ion Cutelaba on the main card. We got a Drew Dober. We got a Joaquin Buckley. And like you said, Joe Pfeiffer. And then, the main event, we'll break this down next week because unless there's some, big time current event news in the next week, we won't have a lot to talk about but this card next week. But again, stick with us because even though these last two cards aren't nothing, it's just a primer for what's to come. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. You got anything else you want to add before we get out of here? Because I don't want to talk too much about this card because, like I said, we need some stuff for next week. We got
I think just going back to the card, like I want to dedicate this episode to Tim Means.
Hell yeah, dude.
Being 39 and freaking still doing the damn thing, getting that amazing knockout.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about a lot when we were breaking down Tim Means. We'd probably spent more time on Tim Means breaking down last week's card than any other fighter, just because it was one of those interesting fights of like, does he still got it? Can he still fight like Tim Means? And god damn, did he fight like Tim Means? And I don't know if that he's gonna be able to do that against higher competition, but he deserves the shot to keep moving up the ladder because that showed right there, dude.
Yeah.
Like, the dude still got it. It's kind of like one of those Tony Ferguson situations, even though Tim Means isn't on like a giant losing streak, but still, same thing.
Yeah.
Two 40-year-old dudes that kind of have a similar fight style, if you know what I mean. Like, they are more successful in dirty-ass grinding fights. You know what I mean? And where they want to kind of, they do better when they can make it a gross ass fight, you know what I mean? Because they both seem like gross dudes, and but yeah, I think that was the story. It wasn't the judging. That was the Tim Means was the feel good story of last week's card. So
yeah, I was
shout
really
out
happy
Tim
about
Means.
Yeah, and then Muhammad Usman, I'm not taking him anymore for the next.
That because like I said, the fight card started a little bit early. We had a late soccer game, so I knew I wasn't going to be able to watch like the entire thing. We fucked up our picks and putting the stuff out there, so I didn't do my normal like mega amount of bets that I normally do on a card. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most of my money was directed towards Muhammad Usman getting a KO or at least the fight not going the distance. You know what I mean? And like, son of a bitch, dude. Like.
And honestly, Jake Collier, that was Jake Collier's fight to win.
Oh yeah.
Muhammad really didn't win the fight. It was just Jake Collier lost the fight. And
exactly. And you rarely come out of a fight looking forward at both fighters saying, "Fade both guys."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think Collier's getting cut after this.
Probably.
I'm
yeah.
sure.
In that type of a loss, especially too, like you said, he lost it more than Muhammad won it. And Muhammad's newer to the UFC, so he's definitely safe. But fade his ass if Jake Collier doesn't get
even
cut.
Like looking. Oh yeah, go ahead. Even like looking at. Oh, sorry.
No. I'm just mad. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, even looking at Muhammad Usman's size versus Jacob Collier, like unless he fights Chris Barnett, which I think that's probably next. They will probably be around the same size, but then. I think the next fight. So say he does win against Chris Barnett, probably not very great, but I hope Chris Barnett mops the floor with him.
Oh, dude, does some kind of cartwheel kick and knocks him out. Yeah.
Yeah, if he fires Martin Budai, he's automatically going to be smaller. Those muscles aren't going to help him.
Well, and that's my thing. At what point, Muhammad Usman, like, if you just got rid of some of those flashy muscles, you could make 205 probably. Fucking do it.
You should make 205.
Do it because
it's really small.
If you couldn't, and the thing about having that small stature is you got to be able to knock anybody out. And if you couldn't knock Jake Collier out in that fight, there is no way you could knock out top 10, top 5 in the heavyweight division. You know what I'm saying? Like, no way in hell. Like,
he was super close. Like, it's not like he
but
threw
it didn't
everything.
happen. Like,
yeah, no, he like stayed back. And stayed back way too long. Was way too patient.
You can't do that in the heavyweight division. If your only option is to knock people out, you know what I'm saying? You don't. Yeah. You can't sit back. You have to take your chances early in the fight and fucking finish it. Otherwise, you're gonna get bodied. You're gonna get wrestled. You're gonna get tired out and you're gonna lose, or you're gonna win because the other guy sucks, and that's what happened. So fade Usman in his next fight. Fade Jake Collier in bare knuckle boxing because he's going somewhere else.
That guy literally has a minute in his gas tank, even though he showed up kind of on weight, or in shape.
Right.
Yeah, like.
I don't know. It was just a bad fight. It was, in retrospect, a bad fight to bet on, I guess. But Usman's been knocking people's heads off, so it's like, God damn it, why couldn't he just do it one more time? He should have done it one more time and made me some money, but he didn't. I also bet the over in the Colorado versus Oregon college football game, and that didn't play out.
Oh, shit.
And the over was 70 points. And, like, even with Colorado not scoring a goddamn touchdown, like, they almost still hit the over. Like all they had to do was score a couple touchdowns, and they could have got their asses whooped, and I still would have hit the over. But so my betting was bad.
Yeah, same as mine, dude. Like, I was upset at the card, but then I was more upset at myself because, like, I knew what this card was.
Yeah, going into it. Well, that's the mind of a degenerate UFC gambler. Okay, we try to make lemonade out of these bitter, shitty lemons that the UFC gives us some weeks, and we try to make. To
make these sleeper picks, right? You're like, no one's paying attention to this card, so this is where we're gonna capitalize.
You try to.
And then everybody gets fucking bodied.
Well, sometimes it's just
the board.
Sometimes it's just your bets and the prospect of winning money that makes some of these cards watchable. So it's like, and when Muhammad Usman fucks you over on the undercard, it's really hard to make the rest of the fight fun to watch.
Yeah, I went through this whole what is it, probably 3 hour searching spree on Reddit and seeing everybody's bets and seeing some of those bet tickets where I was like, holy shit, dude. I felt mad, but then I felt I started feeling sorry for
some of the people. Yeah.
it
Everybody
was
lost.
Either Faziev that lost people a lot of money, Malkoun getting disqualified, or Vidal, which Vidal screwed us over, me in
bad weekend for bettors, but we don't know. We got a break this week, so save your money up this week, and then next week we'll be back with a full breakdown of the next fight night, and we'll try to make lemonade out of those lemons. But until then, thank you, Alexis, as always, for joining me on this show. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Everybody go to Betalytics, Peak One, code Peak One, 25% off. Go to League Swipe, tell them Peak One sent you. Go to bonfire.com/store/Peak One Sports and support us with buying our merch. And I'll let you guys know that all the merch sales specifically support the Bungalow shows. So if you like these shows specifically, go buy some merch because it feeds right back into the Bungalow. So
Yep.
Anyways, all right, buddy. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week and take a break, and we'll talk to you next time.